be more than human.
Back to the channel. My name is Joseph Carroll. I write under the pen name J.R. Carroll. And today we are doing something we've done for the very first time here on the channel. I am going to be reviewing a fellow booktuber's book. Actually, two of them, in fact. Um, Everybody knows him. He is basically the undisputed king of booktube, uh, Daniel Greene. And I've messaged with him back and forth on Twitter and stuff, and you know um, from what I've seen, being on some of his interacting with him on some of his lives, um, he seems to be a really good guy. So I've thought to myself, well, now that I have my own booktube channel, why not try and read his two books that he has out. He just did a Kickstarter, which looks like it's done fantastic. I think he was looking for like $5,000 and ended up with over 15. He might be close to $20,000 now with this Kickstarter. Um, but he's doing a lot of charity work, which is just awesome. But I wanted to kind of see, someone like him who has read, thousands of books probably, and has been reviewing them for years, how well would he be able to translate his knowledge of what makes a good story into writing a good story? And, he came out of the gate last year with, Breach of Peace, which is a novella. I want to say it's only like, I don't know, 140 pages or something along those lines. But I'm not going to go into spoilers here, so I'm just kind of going to give you an overview of the books, how I felt about them. So we had Breach of Peace, and then he was supposed to do two more novellas, and decided that he was going to just go right out there and make the sequel to that a full novel. And again, it's not a very big book, around 300 pages, or maybe less than that, maybe closer to 250. But it was Rebel's Creed. Now, um, it introducing into his style. I'm not gonna. He's put the first chapter out for audiobook people to listen to, and a lot of people. So I'm not gonna spoil much in saying that the very beginning of this book is a graphic murder scene. Um, and so we follow like the two. There's like, well, in the first novella, there's like three main characters. You have, Clyd, Samuel, and Chapman, and it seems like your main lead is Clyd, which is the worst name I've ever heard. I don't know where Daniel came up with that name, but um, as far as like pros and cons to the first novella, really that's the main one. It's just the name. I don't know where that name came from, but I'm just like, every time they say that name, I'm just like, where did this name come from? Um, but it's a very he gives me vibes of he's said before he likes noir, and that's why he you know got into the Dresden Files, and this is very much that. It's the setting. He doesn't give you a crazy amount of details on the setting itself, but I mean, if you look at the cover of A Breach of Peace, that's that's a good indication of what it is. Early, I don't think this isn't set in our world, but it has a early 1900s feel to it. Maybe 19 teens, um, but it's very kind of a dystopian feel to it. You have this the government is controlled by these religious police type, but it doesn't go too heavy into that in the novella. But there's they're on this murder case, and then you get to see some corruption happening within the police department, and um, what's going on with the government and the businesses is a little bit intertwined. And then there's a lot of talk of like the hierarchy, the rich people versus the poor people, and what certain people can get away with, and how these police officers almost have immunity. And there's certain ones that are called anointed, and they're given these superhuman abilities by God, or you know whatever this God entity is that has taken over the empire. Um, but so you get kind of a conclusion to the murder mystery and what was going on in Breach of Peace. Um, and one thing I will say, this being his first um, foray into writing or publishing writing, the flow was really good. Um, you know his you know he knows how to make sentence structure. He's very good at sentence structure, very good at how it smooths through. His actual wording and prose are um, they're very easy to follow. I will say a few times, going through, I felt like he was, adding, $10 words when a dollar word would suffice. Um, but I think we've all done that with our first writing, trying to be like, well, I have good, I have, you know, good vocabulary, so check this out. I'll throw this word in and that word in, and not saying that it was out of place, um, just sometimes simpler is better. um, but overall I like the dark smoky atmosphere of the first book, or the novella. And then as we crossed over into Rebels Creed, um, I felt like maybe he had most of this written um, beforehand, and then after Breach of Peace, he kind of went back through and he's like, oh, maybe I'll change this and that. Um, oh, our channel sponsor, Monster Java. When you can't read, but you don't care if your eyes bleed, drink some Monster Java. I'm getting over a cold here. Now, going into Rebels Creed, he just ramps up what was kind of underlying in the background, which was which turned this book into a super heavy themed book. It definitely seemed like everything he did in this book was very calculated, very purposely put into the book, which sometimes can kind of take away from the story itself when you're trying to um, how do I want to put it? When you're trying to put certain things in there, you want to make sure that this is in here. Well, doing that can kind of sometimes throw the story off, um, which I did feel like when when certain things happened or certain people were shown to be certain ways. I was kind of like, that seemed overly purposeful. But I really do like what he is doing with the government's conspiracy and experiments and certain things like that. I really liked it. His fight scenes or battle scenes, whatever you want to call them, are on point. I really did like them. I don't know what is coming next. If he's gonna, put out a third Rebels Creed book. I know he's doing a book called like Neon Witch or something to that effect. Um, but I'll definitely, read it and give it a shot. If you are really big into noir, detective, thrillers with a little bit of sci-fi fantasy thrown into it, definitely check these out. Let me know what you think, and I will catch you